few weeks ago, me and my dad went to the cinema to go and see Johnny English Strikes Again, and this is what I thought of it. My first thoughts on this film as soon as it was over and we walked out of the cinema and started talking about it were, I genuinely really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a classic Johnny English film. It's an easy watch, it's not hard to understand, and it's just funny. Like, I found it so hilarious. I can definitely see why some people wouldn't find it funny. You do have to have a certain type of sense of humour. That was a lot of words. It's definitely my sense of humour, and I just found it hilarious. It was great. If you didn't know, Johnny English Strikes Again is the third film out of 3. So the first one came out... when did the first one come out? The first Johnny English film came out in 2003. The second Johnny English film, which was called Johnny English Reborn, came out in 2011. And obviously Johnny English Strikes Again, which is the film I'm talking about today, came out this year, in 2018. So the first Johnny English film is about Johnny English. He's like an unintelligent spy, I think that's what it says anyway on IMDb. Johnny English is Britain's most confident yet unintelligent spy, and he becomes Britain's only spy when this person who is called Pascal Sauvage, he tries to steal the crown jewels, and basically Johnny English and his sidekick Boff have to stop him from doing that and basically out him and save England, save Britain. Basically, that's the first film. The second film, I don't remember that much about it. I think Johnny English is retired to begin with in the second film, and then they bring him back. I'm reading this from IMDb, by the way. He's in disgrace after a washed up mission in Mozambique, apparently, and he's summoned by MI7 to stop the Vortex, which is an agency that are planning to kill the Chinese premier. Johnny English is sent to like sort that out, and that time he doesn't have Boff, he has someone called Agent Tucker. This film is kind of a mix. He gets summoned back to MI7, and he has to fight some crime and save the world, basically. Now, out of all 3 movies, I would hands down say that the first one was the best. It's one of those franchises that the first one is definitely the best one, but the second and the third aren't bad either. They're just not as good as the first one. But that's not to say that I didn't like the second one and I didn't like the third one, because I did. I really liked both of them. So, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the film, go and watch it, and also don't watch this bit if you don't want to be spoiled. So in the film, basically, it starts off with Johnny English. He is a teacher in a school, and I mean, he's not your average teacher, let's just say that. I think you can kind of guess what kind of a teacher Johnny English would be. He gets summoned by MI7 again because there is someone that is taking over cyber stuff. I don't know. There's someone that's like taking over the British internet system kind of thing. Like, they stop the traffic lights, so all of the traffic lights in London are red at some point, and they're basically hacking. Oh yeah, that's it. They hacked MI7, so all of their secret agents' profiles were outed, and there wasn't any secret agent left other than a few people that like were retired, and one of them was Johnny English. And Johnny English being Johnny English, it just ended up with him being the agent that had to try and find this person that was hacking the system and stop him. And obviously Boff comes back. Boff wasn't in the second one, but he came back in the third one, and we all love Boff. Boff is a great character. Him and Johnny English just go really well together, so we love Boff. And basically, without giving too much away, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, there are like several people that are suspicious, and he obviously has to like try and figure them out. So at some point he steals someone's phone, and they work out that there's like a company that has a boat or something, and basically it's just your average action film. They find some people that might be involved, get some information out of them, and then they find the villain. And that's basically the gist of Johnny English. But obviously there are bits in between that are just hilarious, and they play around with some virtual reality stuff. They have a couple of interesting scenes that you wouldn't really expect. Johnny English dresses up as a soldier, knight in shining shoulder. What? Knight in shining soldier. He dresses up as a knight, you know those like statues you see with all the like armour and everything on them. He wears those clothes, which is actually really, really funny. Character-wise, as I said, they brought back Johnny English, obviously Rowan Atkinson. They brought back Boff, obviously, Ben Miller. Love them two together. And I think they're the only two people that were in the first movie. Obviously there are some new characters in the movie. One that you will most definitely know, Emma Thompson. She plays the Prime Minister. And there are a few others that, I mean, I don't personally know who they are, but you might, so take a look on IMDb and have a look yourself. Now, obviously, my favourite characters in this movie, they have to be Boff and obviously Johnny English. I find Rowan Atkinson hilarious. Mr. Bean is like one of my favourite characters ever created, so it would be wrong of me to not say that Johnny English was my favourite. Some second and third films of franchises sometimes have like links to the first movie, sometimes they pay homage to the first film. I wouldn't say Johnny English does that with like the first and second film. There isn't any homage to them in the third movie, but there is homage to Mr. Bean. Now, I don't know whether this is deliberate, I don't know whether this is just Rowan Atkinson just letting loose. Obviously, it's not like your average Mr. Bean, like when he talks about his teddy and all of his like antics, but there are certain scenes and certain elements that you can just see Mr. Bean. You just see Mr. Bean. It's like you're watching Mr. Bean instead of Johnny English. And personally for me, because I love Mr. Bean, that was like the best thing because it was just hilarious. The scene that you see the most Mr. Bean is actually one of my favourites, and it is like a dancing scene kind of thing. Basically near the beginning of the film you see Boff and Johnny English looking at the gadgets that they have for the mission, and one of them is like a capsule thing that has two sides. One side is sleeping tablets and the other is like, I don't know, hyperactive tablets. They kind of make you like a wide awake and really, really, really hyper, very energized. Later on in the film, Johnny English can't sleep and he takes a tablet. You can guess which tablet he takes. Spoiler, not the sleeping tablet. And he goes berserk and he goes down into the dance floor in the hotel that they're staying in, and he dances like a madman, or more like he dances like Mr. Bean. It is quite the scene. Another scene that I find really entertaining in this movie is the virtual reality scene. Without giving too much away about what happens in this scene, they have a virtual reality headset and I don't know what the purpose of it is, I think I missed that bit, but basically they have like this floor that you can unlock it, and it means that when you walk on it, you don't actually walk anywhere. Basically it means that when you've got the virtual reality headset on, you're not likely to go walkabouts and walk into the city and anything like that. Johnny basically puts the headset on, he thinks he's unlocked the floor, he really, really hasn't, and he goes into London with this headset on thinking he's fighting crime, thinking he is fighting people, and he really, really isn't. He really is doing the complete opposite. He's harassing members of the public with baguettes and shoes. It's funny. It's a really funny scene, and I don't want to, I know this is the spoiler bit of the video, but I don't want to give too much away because it is just so funny that I think you need to watch it, because otherwise it probably won't be as funny. My thoughts on the storyline of Johnny English Strikes Again. I think it is an easy film to watch. It's not difficult to understand, but the pace is consistent. Like, I wouldn't say it goes at a fast pace, I wouldn't say it goes at a slow pace, I would say it's an average pace, and it is very consistent throughout the whole film. They do things a little bit differently. Usually you would find out who the villain is right near the end of the film, or at least like 3/4 of the way in, really. This film, you find out who the villain is near the very beginning, and at first obviously you don't know he's a villain until like maybe halfway through, which is a little bit odd because then you watch it knowing who the villain is, and there are a few twists and turns in the movie, like there are a few unexpected things that happen, and I like that aspect of it. I like that there are certain elements to the characters and the storyline that you wouldn't guess would happen, that you wouldn't have assumed, so I do like that. But as I said, it's an easy film to watch, so the way that I measure it is, will my mum be able to understand this movie if we watch it, or will she ask questions all the way through? I'm pretty sure she would understand. I wouldn't be surprised if she asked questions, but I'm sure she would understand. Sorry mum, but you know it's true. I think part of the reason why I like Johnny English films is because the story isn't complicated. Like, none of the storylines are complicated, and the best thing about the films is the comedy aspect of it. I really think that that's the reason why I like the film, is because it's not just an action film. It's funny, you know? It's entertaining and humorous, and I just really enjoyed watching it. Basically, I liked it. I enjoyed Johnny English Strikes Again, and I think everyone should go and watch it because it is a good film. It's a great film. If you like the Johnny English franchises, like if you liked the first one and the second one, then you'll like the third one. You definitely will. And if you find Rowan Atkinson entertaining, or if you're just a big fan of Rowan Atkinson, then you would love this film as well. It's definitely not like the best film I've ever watched in my lifetime. It's not on that like top 5 kind of list, but it is a good film. It's not bad by any means. It looks good and the storyline is good and it's just funny. So yeah, there we go. My thoughts on Johnny English. If you guys have seen it or you're planning on seeing it, let me know. And if you have seen it, tell me what your thoughts were. Like, let me know what you thought of the film, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, if you actually really hated the film. That's fine, like, that's your opinion. Everyone can have their own opinion, but let's talk about it. Overall, it's definitely a film that I will get on DVD. I feel like if you're gonna buy it on DVD, then overall you liked the film, you know? And that's how I feel about it. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, because that's great. And comment your thoughts and opinions below. And subscribe to see more videos like this. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week, guys. See you next week. Bye!